Hey everyone, how we doing? My name is Tim Pongres and this is Focus on Detailing. Today's video is going to be a pretty special one as I'm going to be undertaking my very first vehicle review, and it's going to be done on none other than the 2018 Photon Tunland. Behind me, we have the Photon Tunland. Now, upon hearing Photon and Tunland, you're probably thinking, ew, Chinese and cheap. And that's only further reinforced when you go in to do a bit of research and they say it's cost effective. With prices ranging from 26 to 36 when new, depending on which model you're after, and some older models going as cheap as $5,000 with some high kilometers, there's something out there for everyone, no matter what your budget is. In this era, these 4x4 utes are becoming more prevalent. They're tough, reliable, and can be modified to compensate for the owner's inadequacies. We know Ford has the Ranger, Holden has the Colorado, and Mazda has the BT50. But can the Photon Tunland be thrown into the same category? It has the 4x4 auto and manual option, as well as the 4x2 manual option. 2018 was actually the first year to introduce the automatic gearbox. It was one of the requested items and the cons that was, I suppose, used against this car. There was no automatic option, but there sure is now. While there's a few options that we could possibly review, we're just going to be focusing our attention on this one right here. And what better way to start than with the interior. Now, jumping into this car, you could probably fool someone into thinking it's not actually a Chinese-made car. Within here, you have your quick access to change how you want things to work. For high, for low, and too high. Nothing new, as this is quite a common setup now. The carbon wrap doesn't create that cheap, tacky look. It actually works quite well as a finish in here. The leather is not leather, although it's still comfortable. Let's just hope that stitching holds out. Space is plentiful in the front and adequate in the back. I, being 5'10", was able to fit with a full-grown German Shepherd and a full-grown 6-foot father-in-law. The dash is not the most modern setup, but it has what you need. No overbearing screen, but there is obviously the ability to slap one in if you so wish. The most modern thing in here is probably the fact that you can play your music via Bluetooth. If I was to give it that wow factor, I would probably expect maybe a reverse camera and heated seats. Stuff you'd sort of expect in 2018, but in this case, it's not here. In terms of safety, moving along. It has your driver's airbag and your passenger's airbag. That's it. If you want more safety, might have to invest in a bull bar. There's talk that this car is a little bit too noisy. But if you're going out to buy a workhorse that's a diesel, and you find it a little bit too noisy, well, I can tell you, in this case, there is plenty of room in the glove box for your purse. But when you go to drop down that visor, you're going to be a little bit disappointed to find there's no vanity mirror to check yourself out. We're going to jump out of this thing, and I'm going to show you what's under the bonnet. It's a 2.8 litre turbo diesel that produces 130 kilowatts and 365 Newton meters of torque. But, and this is a big but, I believe this is the Chinese-made Cummins engine over the American due to the joint conglomeration. But I believe it would still have to be built to the American standards. It has the ability to tow 2.5 ton. Nothing fantastic, pretty average these days, and it can also go with 950 kilos in the tub. Stepping out of this car, you'll notice it's not exactly small. It's got a similar size and wheelbase to that of the Ranger and the Colorado, although this thing weighs a tiny bit less. Aesthetically, nothing really jumps out. You wouldn't really give it a second look, apart from the fact that there's not many of these around, so you might glance again to see what was that. But I'm glad that the Chinese haven't straight out copied some of the other 4x4 designs. They have sort of gone with their own look. I can talk about this thing for quite some time, but you're likely here to see how it drives. And for that, we're going to have to hand it over to our driver. Now, some say that she is a better driver than me, and that this is unoriginal and there'll probably be copyright issues. All we know is that she's called Shaylee. Being at her car, I believe she may have a better understanding as to how it feels. Now, in her words, The steering is light and comfortable at speed. The suspension, she's a little stiff, which makes conversations interesting. But that's not exactly news for a car built to carry weight that has no weight. It has a well-spaced 5-speed manual gearbox made by Getrag, a German-made gearbox, and with a light clutch it makes for smooth driving. Hill descent control, download torque, and being able to change drive type on the fly, it's all good for off-road use. It made the track around the Loveday 4x4 park look easy. The only thing pulling it up was the fact that the front needs to be lifted a little bit to avoid bottoming out. You know, if I didn't know any better, this car is starting to seem like a hidden gem. At the end of the day, the Chinese did initially start with a rough plan and vehicle, but as they progressed, it's become more refined and being able to match some of the big names in some cases. It comes down to, would you want to be seen in a car that isn't from one of the top brands? I think it's a bit of a lose situation, because no matter what 4x4 you choose to buy, you'll always be known as being a lesser human being to those that buy the different brands. That's just how that community seems to work. But in this case, you'll be known for being a lesser human being for buying a different ute and also having less money, so you can't really win. Look, it does cost less and there's reasons as to why, but it has certainly come in leaps and bounds to improve with how they started. You could probably pick one of these up for around $25,000 with low kilometers, and when you compare that to a Hilux, although it is better, that hole in your pocket certainly is not. Unfortunately, it still has a few Chinese finishing touches. I can let the fake air vent slide, but it's like they complete a car to a decent standard and then say, hang on, let's fiddle with a few things so they know we made it. I'll show you what I mean. So say we wanted to click it into downhill descent. No, that's traction control. Okay, so then we want no traction. No, that's now downhill descent. But apart from that, it's not too bad. So without further ado, let's get into the rating. The interior. With the basic finishes but comfortable and roomy space, I'd be giving it a 6 out of 10. Could do with the more modern touches. Even for 2018, I expected more. Under the bonnet, it's torquey. A little loud, but it is reliable. I'll be giving it a 7 out of 10. The looks. Nothing that really jumps out, but as stated before, it does have its original appearance. 7 out of 10. Driving. It handles and cruises like a 4x4 manual ute, but it's an easy car to drive. Not the best at night with its very subpar headlights though, so 8 out of 10. Usability. It fits the part of a workhorse perfectly. Would be a 9 out of 10, but that towing could be a little bit better these days, so 8 out of 10. And value for money, obviously a 10 out of 10. So overall, that's 46 out of 60. I'm going to be closing up this video by saying it feels nice to drive, it looks the part, and works the way a workhorse should. Its biggest pros are the engine and its price, as well as the fact that parts are plentiful and they're also of a decent price, so it seems like a bit of a win-win. Shaylee drives this thing 6 days a week in a 40-minute round trip, and it hasn't missed a beat. Touch wood. You just have to deal with the fact that it's made in China. Foton have actually since gone quiet here in Australia, but in 2025 there's going to be a bit of a comeback, so it's going to be interesting to see how it shakes up the 4x4 ute community again. But on that note, I'm going to be finishing up this video. Thank you all for watching, take care, and I'll catch you all later.